Why old guys over 50 plus are, without a doubt, the luckiest age bracket to be in history, right? We are in a sweet spot, guys. If you are an older guy like myself, over 50, um, man, we really lucked out because we're kind of in this sweet spot, right? Where we didn't grow up with the internet, we did not grow up with computers, okay? We did not grow up with smartphones. We didn't grow up with all this technology just distracting us and consuming our lives. No, we actually got to engage with humanity, right? We got to engage with physical activities and our peers. So we didn't grow up in this digital age that so many kids today are growing up in, right? And I just feel bad for these kids because they really are missing out and have missed out on their childhood because some of these kids are now adults, right? Especially kids now, by the way, because everything is so politicized, right? That they're getting distracted away from enjoying their youth to worry about, oh, is Trump going to get elected again? Oh no, or oh my goodness, trans rights, or they're getting just sadly distracted away from just enjoying a time in their life where you're only young once, right? You're only going to be a teenager once. You're only going to turn 16, you're only going to turn 16 once. You're only going to turn 18, 21 once, right? It's just a time that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, right? It's a time that you're going to reflect on for the rest of your life. And I can admit this as an older guy too. Oh, I mean, I just have so much to reflect on that I just don't have time a lot of times to reflect on, right? But I love to just reminisce on things I did when I was a child in, grade school or high school or college. I like to think back on those times. Girlfriends I had, even if they didn't work out or, we're not talking anymore, I still reminisce on that, right? It's like, wow, just good times or good friends I had back then. Whereas these kids, what are they going to reminisce on? They're going to reminisce on, oh yeah, that time on social media, somebody posted the meme. I didn't like it about my political candidate. Oh, this hateful group. They're just being robbed of their innocence, right? And have been robbed of their innocence for the older ones. Whereas for our generation, we didn't have to worry about that. I mean, if you grow up in the era I did, where I'm Generation X, right? We're the slacker generation. The last thing on our minds was politics, right? The last thing that we cared about was social issues. Why? Because we're too busy trying to meet babes in class. We're trying to meet the prom, get the prom queen out on a date with us, or we're trying to get that cute cheerleader, right? Or we're just trying to figure out how to get some chick out with us. I mean, we're just worried about what car we're gonna get. And that's how easy it was to date back then, right? I mean, back in high school, you just had to have a cool car. Remember that? It was like back in the day, dude, all I need is a car. All I need is a Camaro or the Vet, right? If you had the Vet, you got the girl. Don't worry about that, right? Or I borrow my parents' Beamer or something like that, right? Or anything. Even if you had a hunk of junk, you could succeed back then. But women would place, I mean, at least you're, like high school girls. If you're in high school and you had wheels, man, whoa, look out, right? You were high value, man. You had high value. That's all it took to get the girls back then, just having a cool car. Whereas these days, man, you have to have the right political beliefs. You have to make sure you're environmentally friendly. You have to make sure you say the right thing. You're going to walk on eggshells. Whereas before, we didn't have to worry about what we said to the girl, right? I mean, just people were a lot easier to deal with back then. The girl wouldn't call you out if you wanted to be the man. You want to open the car door for her. She would expect you to, right? Her parents would even ask her, hey, you went on that date with Paul. Did Paul open the car door for you? Yes, Mom, he did. Oh, he sounds like a good guy. Sounds like a good boy, right? I mean, that was how it was back then. Very simple almost. Whereas today, you wouldn't even be dealing with both her parents. It would just be her single mom. That misogynistic piece of garbage, mansplaining teenage boy. Did he open your car door for you? You'd be like, yeah. Oh, don't date him. Oh, yeah. What is he trying to bring us back to the 1950s? Right? It's so complicated now to be, just be a kid. It's so complex to be a child these days. And it's really depressing, right? I mean, hopefully if you're a younger person watching this, all right, don't take this nihilistic view on it, right? Just do the best you can. But for our generation, for you guys who are older or around my age, in your late 40s or early 50s and whatnot, this was the best age bracket to be a part of in history. And I believe it's the last age bracket that can be considered normal and healthy. That will come around for a long, long time. I don't know if it will ever come back, because again, we were the last generation to grow up without the internet, right? And we kind of got the best of both worlds, where we grew up without the internet. We're never robbed of our innocence, right? We could have cared less about politics back then or cultural issues. Sure, we saw it on the news. Gorbachev, Reagan, what was going on back then? Was it the Cuban Missile Crisis or something before that? I don't even remember, because I didn't care, right? I didn't care. I was more worried about getting the babes, getting my cool car, going on dates, going to my prom, playing ball, hanging out with friends, going to movies. I just want to be a kid. I didn't want to worry about that stuff. I mean, I remember even back then, I wanted a job I think I was like 15. I wanted to get my worker's permit and get a job. My dad said no. And I'm like, why? I want to make my own money. I won't ask you for allowance anymore. He just said, because you're only young once, I just want you to enjoy being a teenager. I can't believe that my dad said that to me back then. And I'm so thankful for that too. He was right. He was like, I just want you to enjoy being a kid. I'll work. Don't worry about that. He goes, you'll have plenty of years to work, right? Don't worry about that right now. I never understood it as a kid, but now I understand it as an adult. Like, yeah, you're right. I look back on it. I'm so glad that I just spent my time with my friends, right? And just doing what I wanted to do. But yeah, as a Gen Xer, we're in a sweet spot where we got to enjoy our childhood. We're not robbed of our innocence. We're never indoctrinated, right? Back then, we could trust adults to have our back. They weren't trying to, brainwash us with their ideology, or SJW values. No, they were telling us, hey, think for yourself. Do what's in your heart, right? Do what you feel is right for you. That's what they're telling us. Like, what about what to believe? What do you feel you want to believe? What's important to you, right? They would literally have these conversations with you. This is why I respect the teachers I had back then. Not all of them, but most of them I respect, because they never tried to brainwash me with anything, and they always tried to teach me to think for myself, right? But we grew up in a sweet spot where, yes, we got to enjoy our childhood, ride our bicycles, go out and, engage in activities. We weren't locked up all day on social media. No, we got to enjoy our childhood as kids. But then when we became adults, guess what came along? The internet, social media, smartphones, cell phones. Those came first before smartphones, right? We got to enjoy technology later as adults. So we had the best of both worlds. Kids get to enjoy our youth, right? Without any indoctrination. And then we became adults, got to enjoy the internet, and got to enjoy computers and all that, and technology and advancements, without it affecting or robbing us of any youth or anything like that, or any innocence from our youth. No, it didn't. Right? Not only that too, but it's apparently there's this war between millennials and boomers, right? Millennials hate boomers, right? And boomers hate millennials, right? We're kind of like the forgotten generation that's in between. We have nothing to do with that. The millennials blame boomers for the housing crisis and, all these issues that are going on in society, like boomers screwed everything up, you stupid boomers, right? And boomers are like, you lazy ass millennials, dumbass millennials, lazy, non-working, Twitter ass, right? But us Gen Xers are like just really in the middle, right? They call us the lost generation. We're always the slackers, but it's kind of funny because we sit back and watch the boomers and the millennials just fight, and we're just kind of left out of it, right? It's just hilarious. Right? It's kind of like us growing up as, they used to call us latchkey kids, latchkey. If you ever heard that term, because we're part of the generation where both our parents went to work, and we would just get a key because we'd get home while they're at work, and we would be able to just, get in the house on our own. And I was a latchkey kid too. My parents were not there when I got home from school. Just put the key in the knob and go in the house. Nobody was there yet. Right? It was pretty cool, actually. I like that. And then I would just watch movies until my parents come home. And then once I heard like the car coming up the driveway, I'd pull out my book and pretend I was like doing my homework the entire time. Well, really, I was just watching like, television. But regardless, yeah, we're in that sweet spot where we're not really getting blamed for anything. So again, it's just another one of those benefits of being an older guy in your 50s, right? We're not part of this like boomer, millennial war that is going on back and forth. Right? We're just kind of watching it like a ping pong match, and going, yeah, the stupid boomers. That's their fault. The housing costs are so high. And then we could also look at the millennials and go, yep, those are some lazy sons of bitches right there. And we're just left out of it. Like Gen X, who? So yeah, it's it's just a great age bracket to be a part of, right? And obviously, too, we have the best music from the 80s, which is still popular today. The movies from the 80s, still incredibly popular today. Many of the cars from the 80s, still incredibly popular today. I think I was just looking up a Lamborghini. One car, everyone, as a Gen Xer, you had this poster on your wall, or had a friend who had this poster, or saw this poster back when we had stores that sold these posters. The Lamborghini Countach. It was I believe it was like the Alpine. I remember the Alpine radios had a Lamborghini Countach poster. They created a poster of the Lamborghini, like a 1988 Countach. So that was always a dream car of mine. And I was thinking recently, I should just get a Countach, right? I'm not really big on the new Lambos because they don't come in manual. They come in automatic, which is another thing about our generation being cool, is like most of us learned how to drive manual. Stick shift, we called it back in the day. And if you could drive stick back in the day, that was even more attractive to chicks. It still is, by the way, right? It still is. Like I mean, my girl was just surprised the very first time I brought her in my DeLorean. And then she looked at it, she was like, why are there 3 pedals? I go, hon, that's a clutch. Huh? And then she saw me shifting gears, and she's like, oh my gosh, that looks so confusing. And I'm like, it's not, it's really easy. It's the same thing on a motorcycle, right? Except it's upside down. And that was another thing back in the day. I used to have a lot of motorcycles. My buddies rode motorcycles. We would just tear it up on our bikes, right? We rode motorcycles. A lot of these kids today don't ride bikes, right? They just don't, and that's also super attractive to babes, right? To the opposite sex. And so yeah, I was looking at the Lamborghini Countach, not to get off track, and I couldn't believe these things are going for $500,000 these days. $500,000? Some are selling for over $1 million, right? For an 80s car. My DeLorean is I had an offer, I think it was $105,000 for my DeLorean. I'm like, these cars are still very relevant, still very popular in society today. Again, we're just part of this age bracket that is just be fortunate that you're being part of it, right? That you are part of it, and you're this old guy, and this is probably the first. I'll say this before I close up this coaching video. Our generation, for you being an old guy, is the first and the last generation that will be considered cool. Every generation after will probably be hated on, disliked. People will hold resentment for them. All right? Nobody's going to look back and go, yeah, man, those Gen Zers, whoo, that was fun. Fun time, great movies, great music. No, nothing really good is coming out ever since, right? And this is why, we're the last of that, right? We're the last of that. And this is why I've never seen generation, especially the younger generation today, so nostalgic. It just blows my mind. They love the 80s movies. They love the 80s music. They have these 80s dance parties. My girl, who's 21, wanted me to go with her to an 80s, it was like an 80s dress-up party that was going on at her school. And I was like, I think that would just be really weird for me. I'm like, not only would I feel like kind of creepy being there, I mean, it's going to be mostly younger kid, I feel like I should be a chaperone, but I just said that would be really weird for me because that is my generation, right? I was like, that's going to be very strange for me to try to dress up like I'm in the 80s when that was my life, right, as a teenager. And plus whenever they have these 80s dress up parties or 80s events, they kind of just take it to an exaggerated comic book level, right? It's like they find all of these bright colors and, I'm always like, okay, it wasn't to that extreme, right? The 80s were, it was a great time and everything, but it wasn't to that extreme where everywhere you looked, people were wearing, hot pink or highlighter yellow. No, that wasn't the case. But regardless, hey guys, if you're an older guy over the age of 50, don't even be depressed about it, as our older peers were back in the day, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old, and oh my gosh, this is not cool, I don't want to get old. No, we're part of a really great generation, man. And we're probably the last great generation that will come along where we did not grow up, again, with the technology, but then we got to experience it as adults, whereas every generation after that, they grew up with, basically getting robbed of having their childhood and enjoying that. So for all those reasons, yeah, this is a great time to be alive. If you're an old guy over 50, drop your comments below. If you agree or if you disagree, drop those comments below. Anything I missed, anything you'd like to add, drop them in the comments below. As always, this is Matt Cross from AlphaMaleSecrets signing out. And yes, that is Cash snoring back there in the background with Gizmo. Drop your comments below, and don't forget to smash, like, and subscribe this coaching video for me. Helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And also, if you want to support my work and everything I'm teaching here, best way to do that is just to become a premium subscriber of my premium Alpha Male Secrets channel, which I'm hosting on a private platform away from YouTube, and that is to protect my premium content from YouTube. In the event they try to shut me down, they won't be able to. So right now it's only $1 for the entire first month of premium Alpha Male Secrets coaching lessons from me. So take advantage of it. All you need to do is click the link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds. So do that now, and I will see you in my next coaching video. Old guy signing out.